Hi folks, I hope you're doing very well. Today it's Lick of the Week number 5. This time around we're going to be dipping our toes into the waters of country music. Now I must confess, this is probably a genre that you're not going to get loads of licks out of me for, but that's not to say that I don't have the utmost respect for guitarists who have mastered this genre, because there is an incredible and sometimes mind-blowing amount of skill involved in some of the techniques that they utilize. But today I'm just going to show you a simple lick that anybody could get their head around, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate player, and you're just looking for something to either introduce you into that style or a new technique that you might not have tried before. Anyway, without further ado, let's crack right on. Okay, so just like before, I'm just going to briefly mention the gear I'm using before we get started for anyone who's interested. So I'm using my Fender Modern Player Telecaster, and I'm running it through my Blues Cube Artist, just on the clean channel. Nothing too fancy going on, just a bit of reverb on top of that. Alright, so this lick is kind of based around the idea of incorporating melody into chords. And this is not an uncommon idea in a few different genres. I mean, country players will do it, jazz players especially with their comping. So that there is an element of crossover here. So you could actually take this kind of lick and put it into any sort of jazzy, bluesy setting. And if you wanted to have a bit of a country flavour thrown in there, you could use this actual lick over the appropriate chord shapes. The way it's kind of working is we're picking out this melody from a very simple kind of major pentatonic shape. It's just this sort of melody. Over F major. So what we're doing is putting that melody, as I say, into the context of some chords. And what we're starting with is this sort of bend up, which is a very reminiscent sound of a sort of a country vibe. You'll see what I mean straight away as soon as I do it. And what's going on there is we're barring with our little finger on the 13th fret of the B and E string. And then with the G string below that, we're bending up from the 12th fret up a tone. So it's only the G string that's bending, and it's bending up to this note to create this sort of triad shape. But from here. And what immediately follows on from that is this sort of descend down again, back to the original note. Okay, so you've got this to start with. And before we go any further, I just want to mention this picking style I'm using. In the country circles, I'm pretty sure they sometimes refer to this as chicken picking. But what I would call it is just hybrid picking, because you're using your pick and your fingers at the same time. So the way this is working is we're kind of taking the bottom string, wherever we're playing, and using our pick for that, okay? But then the top two strings, we're plucking with our middle and third finger in this case, right? So if you play them all at the same time, you get a sort of a chordal thing going on. So that's a very popular technique in country guitar playing. So now that we've got the first two sort of parts of this lick, the first two notes, I guess you could say, even though they're kind of chords, it's the first two notes of the melody, really. But yeah, the first two chords. Then what we're going to do after we've come down is release that chord and just go to a single note for a second, down to the 10th fret on the G string. So like this. Then once you're there, you're going to come to the 12th fret on the D string and then go down to the 10th fret. So it would be like this. Okay. Then once you're there, we're going to go back to this sort of chordal idea, and all you're doing with that is barring with your first finger on the 10th fret for the D, G and B strings, right? To make an F chord, essentially. So far we have this. So then all I did on the repeats of playing this lick for the intro that I did at the start of this video, I kind of tried to land on the appropriate chords corresponding to what the backing guitar was doing. So, for example, when it went to the 4 chord, the B flat 7, I would do this. So that chord is just a B flat that's been inverted. So we're starting with the major third in this case, which is the D, 12th fret on the D string, then 10th fret on the G string for the F, and then for the tonic note, the B flat, we're doing the 11th fret on the B string. So all in all, you've got that. But then the sneaky thing I add on with my little finger here to go with that B flat 7 chord a bit better is I sneak my little finger onto the 13th fret of the G string, getting that A flat. Okay, so then you've got this sort of effect. And over a B flat 7 chord, that's going to work very nicely. So, again, the two variants I'm doing are like this. So it starts the same, it's just the chord at the end of the phrase changes depending on what chord I'm playing over, okay? So it starts with the F chord, then goes to that B flat 7. The same thing happens when I go to the 5 chord, which is a C7, okay? Starting the lick the same way. And that's exactly the same shape as that B flat chord I just showed you, but up 2 frets. Again, sneaking on that 7th note with our little finger onto the 15th fret this time to get a C7, okay? So I'm just going to play the whole thing through nice and slow with some chords on the screen so you guys can see how I'm changing to suit those chords, alright? So, I hope any beginner or intermediate guitarists that may be out there watching have just discovered a new technique or a new style they can start working on. And as always, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to catch any more content like this, plus anything else that I'll be putting out that you will enjoy. If you're finding yourself thinking, you know what, I could probably really benefit from a one-on-one guitar session with this guy, then you're in luck, because I'm offering that, and you can get in touch with me about it on my socials, which as ever I have linked below in the description. Please feel free to get in touch whether you're a beginner, an intermediate player, or an expert that's just looking to brush up on their chops. But until the next one guys, stay safe out there, stay positive, and stay musical. Ha! Ho, ho. That's a chair wheel to the toe.